So, anyways, we've started recording. No. That's a part of the. That's the magic of the 8J podcast because we can be very informal about it. And yeah, welcome to the podcast. I'm with probably you probably don't know him. You probably don't know his face, but I assure to you guys, he's very influential. He's currently the head of commercial partnerships and strategic sales. I don't know what that means. He's Mr. David Dacanay. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
But you should have an IGN. You probably have an IGN. You cannot not have an IGN.
Sa ML, my IGN is patalo. Because I like to undersell and over-deliver. That's kind of the strategy. Right?
Hey, sheesh. All right, so he leads the entire sales team of Tier 1. I think that's the easiest way to describe what you do for Tier 1. And you've been there since
July of 2020. So it's been close to 5 years now.
Close to 5 years. Yeah. And you've had we can talk about your career in the past, but apparently we have so much in common. For example, we have our mutual friend Ikoy.
Yes.
And obviously Pau Bago, shout out to Pau Bago for making this happen. You're also from One Sports.
Yes, one championship and one esports.
One championship and one esports. I wonder. So you probably know Carlos, you know.
Yes, Carlos. Yes, Carlos was my boss back in One Esports. Yep.
So that
Carlos
was
Alimuro, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But I joined around 2021, so we probably didn't.
Yes, so I left na by that time. So I was there from about 4 years, 2017 until 2020.
So you probably know Chris.
Yes, of course I know Chris.
So you went to the Power Plant Mall.
I was in that office. Yes.
But the first episodes of this podcast was shot in that same office.
With sila Chris, right? Sila Tristan.
Yeah, because I had to find a place back then, and now we're in a different studio with lots of guitars.
Nice. I didn't know that you were there for One Esports.
One Esports, cool. Was very cool. Kasi obviously I was part of One Esports, and I think we did some shoots there, and I thought maybe I can use the office because they're not using it. Nobody's using it anymore after the pandemic.
Yes.
Anyways, that's not the podcast, guys. This is actually about a very, very important topic, and I'm sure that this guy, David, and your team, I'm sure.
Call me Brian. That's
Brian, all right,
all right. Know me as
all right, so Brian, dude, you must have probably the most intense weeks.
Yes, it's been intense, man. It's been intense.
How did your past 2 weeks go? Like right after January, dude.
Okay. Look, I think everybody's talking about it right now. Yeah. We're exiting the MLBB Men's League.
Mm-hmm.
After a couple of years of being a franchise owner in the MPL. We're exiting the title, right? So at least for the men's division, we're still in the women's league in Athena. So it's been a couple of I think it's been we started this journny in October actually around the some semblance of what's going
October
to happen
last year.
Yes. Started around late September and October. So the reason for that is because it's coming off of the EWC, diba? So we're coming off of the EWC, and there were some rule changes within that where you actually have to acquire certain. That's why you see in the MPL Philippines there were certain teams last year that were acquired that were part of the EWC. So there were some. There were a couple of offers on the table, which we kind of explored. Since last year, late last year, and then things really materialized really just only up to about a week ago in terms of the X and O's, getting all the deal terms done. That's essentially how essentially a deal cycle would go anyway, about a couple of months. So internally we kind of knew about what's coming down for what has been a couple of months last year. So, but it's been intense
It's
since
been
it,
there. And by the way,
materialized.
for all of the viewers out there who probably didn't see the caption, this was shot 24th of January. So that means the past 2 weeks is essentially just the return to the office of the of a typical
Yes.
working guy.
And the
playing in
announcement was
Philippines.
literally just 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
I've-
been crazy.
It's been crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I've heard about this rumor about Blacklist International exiting the scene maybe a month prior, and I shook it off because in my head was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. Blacklist is a very strong organization,
Yep.
and despite what people think about their cash flow, I'm pretty sure that they're fine. Well, at least from outside looking in, I don't know the specifics, obviously, and because of the fact that it's that MPL is such a big brand, and I don't see any other avenue for an esports brand here in the Philippines to thrive again as much as you would from MPL. I thought maybe that's not gonna happen. So
That's
it did.
arguable. What I would I'd say. So
I love it.
yeah, actually on that I'd like to comment na parang like there are certain pockets of the community that seem to think we're in financial trouble and I'd like to address these things head on. The truth of the matter is like when you think about the space from a big picture, right? Let's zoom out a little bit. All of this falls into entertainment, right? All of what we're doing right now. So we're podcasting, we're doing tournaments, we have creators, we have we share the same pie as, let's say, the traditional showbiz people, right? In TV and in movies, right? It all comes from the same kind of ecosystem. It revolves around the same ecosystem. Now, how does the flywheel turn, right? Yep. All around the world, including sports media, you're essentially looking at a very advertiser-driven economy. Okay. So when you think about, or let's take a traditional example such as sports, because it's very close to what the model is in esports, right? Esports is a passion point platform, right? It gives advertisers the opportunity to give to engage their fans or engage fans of their most passionate and kind of associate their brand attribute to a certain moment of winning or losing, diba? Let's say in sports. So when you look at it from big picture, it's largely driven by the advertiser money, diba?
Okay.
So what are the different commercial opportunities? So, halimbawa, saan nanggagaling yung pera, di ba? So, in sports, you would say that a TV carrier, somewhat of a signal, like that, or
ESPN,
an
for
ABS,
example.
yes, or an ABS-CBN, would acquire the rights to, let's say, an ESPN or the NBA, a sports property.
Yeah.
So, ganun siya nangyari. They would pay a certain amount of money to acquire licensing for, let's say, a sports property like the NBA or football, diba? Or F1. And then that acquisition would allow them to sell advertising specifically for that content.
Yeah.
Now, you look at in esports currently doesn't have that type of model. Na, the reason why NBA players actually earn a lot of money is because may trickle down yon from the TV rights money. Diba? Very recently, let's look at the NFL. NFL was acquired by the Amazon Prime or Amazon Prime for about 200 million US or something like that. That 200 million, a certain percentage of that goes to the franchise owners, yung team owners. Sa lahat ng teams. So, may trickle down yun from the league, yung pera na yun, that comes down to the different teams. And that allows the teams to subsidize their operations.
Yeah.
Right now, across the world, there is not a proven media rights model with esports.
Yes, I know that.
Yun.
I also found out about this kasi when I saw this, the Vox Explained series. So they eventually explained esports.
Yes.
So the way that we see it is in traditional sports, that's why they earn a lot more money and the cash flow is much better, is because nobody owns the sport.
Correct.
But there is a broadcaster and a league, what they call them, or league runners or whatever they're called, right? So NBA is the league runner. They sell their rights to broadcasters, like ESPN, for example.
Correct.
And then the broadcasters, they themselves will look for sponsors or whatever. It doesn't matter
It
to
becomes
the
an advertiser inventory.
exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's how it goes. And so everybody has their piece of the pie, like you said.
Correct,
right?
correct.
However, in esports, the publisher of the game also owns the league,
Yes.
which is that's where everything gets more complicated.
Correct.
Because now, even if you're a franchise, if you're part of the franchise league, you still have you still get trickled down a little bit, right? You probably should, right? Because there's revenue sharing,
Yes,
but
there
not
is.
as much as in sports.
Yes, correct. Kasi there's actually no TV rights
There
money
you go.
currently in esports.
Yeah.
The reason for that is number one, the schedule is unpredictable.
Yes.
Right? So certain games can go on for however many minutes.
Yeah.
Some actually don't.
Yeah.
So unlike sports, you have 4 quarters of 12 minutes each,
Yeah.
probably, or basketball, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of could tell how long
Yeah.
a certain broadcast is.
Yeah.
So yun yung things that kind of hinder the brokerage of, let's say, a licensing agreement with a certain
Yeah.
carrier. So yun yung that's the partly the issue.
Yeah.
And there's not, and you're right about it's the publishers that actually own the license to run
Yeah.
a certain league.
Yeah.
Now, there are also third-party tournament promoters like One Esports,
Yeah, MPLI, diba?
ESL, yes. ESL, and several others that actually run tournaments, and there's a certain license, and dito
Yeah.
double yung cost. You have to pay the league for a certain
Yeah.
license, and then you have to then that's the only time you can actually broadcast. So
Yeah.
there's that kind of brokenness in the model that needs to be
Yeah.
fixed. Mm.
And unfortunately, guys, this is not just in MLBB. This is actually very present in other leagues, particularly Dota 2. The reason why Dota 2 also died in the Philippines is because apart from the fact that we don't have enough viewership, or we don't earn as much, or there's no buying power whatsoever, it's not profiting basically. It's that Valve earns a lot more with the game than with the esports.
Correct.
And this is crazy because I just found out about this, and there's a big epiphany for me. Like, Moonson, MLBB as a game is not the same as MPL.
Yes.
And MPL is more like, it's like a small, it's, if there's a big pie for MLBB from Moonton, the MPL itself is just small compared to what you sell from the game.
Correct. So, and this could be a very dicey topic, particularly for me and the position I hold in a company.
Yeah.
But what I'll say about this is the whole ecosystem currently, not just specific to the MPL, is broken. Let's talk about Valve and all the other titles.
Yeah.
But there could be a way where there's trickle down revenue from, you're right kasi maliit na pie lang to Like the esports component of it is a small pie.
Yeah.
However, if it's being, the marketing that they generate for the league is big with regards with regards to the game in terms of growing the game. This is a good marketing tool to grow the game.
Yeah.
So there should be, I think, the ideal scenario should be the publishers would trickle down revenue from in-game purchases that could
Yeah.
potentially add on to the revenue of the esports teams.
Yeah.
That's the way that's another
That's
way.
a way.
Yeah.
I understand. That's why slowly we're getting into like more skins from MPL themselves. I don't know. Maybe this is a different topic altogether. Actually, this is a totally a topic altogether. Maybe I'll ask you that question where, when is it that league is a marketing tool for the game itself, and when does it actually like directly affect it? Like would people play more just because there is MPL or something like that? So
Yeah, I would say like because you look at basketball, it's the same way, right? Like you drive the fandom with the NBA, and evidently you would have more people. Like let's say for example, Yao Ming is the best example of
Yeah.
this, right? When Yao Ming was in the NBA, literally there were more Chinese there was a more healthy Chinese population playing basketball because of him.
Yeah.
Right? He became sort of this idol, right? And he
Yeah.
unlocked a new market for the NBA. So did Dikembe Mutombo in Africa, diba? So
Yeah.
so that those are essentially some examples or causality where that
Causality.
exactly happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Use that term, guys. To all the 8G fans out there, we learned a new word, causality, right? Yeah, because that's I firmly believe that there's a direct effect from the MPL being famous or MPL being MPL thriving to MOBB also thriving. However, when it comes to like numbers, when it comes to earning, and this is also evident with Dota 2. Yep, the amount of earnings they get from the tournaments themselves is just a minuscule amount to what they earn from the game itself.
Yeah, or even like look, Dota 2 is such a very good example because Dota has not necessarily gone younger when it comes to their fan base,
Yes.
right? So evidently, there's still the same people, a kind of our age, playing the game,
Yes.
right? Because we grew
Yes.
up around it. Like
Yes, yes.
I grew up playing Dota in
Yeah.
college, and so essentially it remained the same in terms
Yep.
of demographic. It's not getting any younger, and the problem is you're not welcoming new audience. So how can
Yeah.
you actually monetize, right?
Yep.
So then what's happening? It's not big. It's no longer. If you again zoom out, if it's about the advertiser, right? It's not essentially a good product because you're not getting any younger, diba? It's still what would the advertiser buy if it's
Yeah.
still the same demographic?
Yeah.
Yun. Yeah.
Whew. Well, anyways, that's just one of the many topics that we'll cover today. But the most important one, which we'll spend a big chunk of this podcast, is for Blacklist International and their recent announcement. Now, again, you mentioned that from outside looking in, the point of view is Blacklist International or Tier 1 don't have enough money anymore to sustain the them being part of the league. And to me, in fact, in a recent live video that I did, somebody asked like, why do I think that Blacklist International sold their slot? And my answer is there are only two reasons for a franchise team to sell their slot. First is if they don't have enough money for upkeep, because upkeep of a esports organization is so difficult to achieve. And the second one is if they feel that their franchise fee that they invested in a few years back has now matured, has a significant markup, for you to think that, okay, fine, my investment of last year will come back and I gain 5 million pesos whatsoever, and I'm already happy. I
Yep.
can call it a day.
Yep.
So those are the only two things that I thought of from my simple mind. Obviously, there are other factors. Maybe there's a different direction that Tier 1 wants to go to. So can you now clarify to us, why did Tier 1 decide eventually
Okay.
to sell the slot?
Right. So okay. Not to get into too much detail here of the like let's say in numbers. When you look at our sponsorship pipeline, right, or sponsors currently with Blacklist International men's team, it's a very very healthy mix of sponsors already as it is. So I'd like to shout out Ikoy, my commercial
Yeah.
director, who is assigned
Yeah.
to Blacklist International
Okay.
before, for really helping us in Tier 1 really monetize and push the boundaries when it comes to welcoming new brands in esports. But you look at it, you have Globe, you have Milo, you have a couple of other sponsors in there that don't necessarily come from the endemic space, and that's a very very healthy view of of value, 'di ba? Parang let's say Milo has never really sponsored esports
Yes.
until they did with Blacklist International, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So and that was just last year. So it should have been that if we were just focused on sponsorship revenue, that we could sustain the team. But we're not just focused on that. We want to be able to be aligned with certain titles that actually build out models that is sustainable for the long term. And siguro what I'll say on why we exited is that we see other opportunities to be able to generate a healthy business for the rest of our components of the business. I think before the show started, I talked about it, right? We're seeing some
Yeah.
trends currently in our creator business.
Yeah.
So like we last year we welcomed new creators like Shardine San Pedro who come from the mainstream space and they're kind of
Yeah.
growing into gaming, their fandom in gaming and so on. Like we
Yeah.
did our music festival last year with Josh Cullen. So it's about managing your resource capacity, right? And seeing currently how the market is evolving
Yeah.
in terms of, again, growing back the advertiser space,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, all of this, and people would hate me for this, we're all just billboards. But
Yeah.
and you need to see that advertisers, where advertisers are spending their money is where we need to evolve, and that's really the brutally pragmatic, honest truth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to digest, especially because, at least from my perspective, and to all of the people who are fans of Blacklist as a brand, we will always see that it is about our idols.
Yes.
The team that we grew and loved, the team that gave us a different strategy, the Ube strategy, the team that gave us so many live streams that we had so much fun with, the team that gave us VYs, So it's easier for us to attribute Blacklist International to that. And the fact that there wasn't that much success with other ventures from Tier 1, it's easy for us to assume that, okay, Tier 1 is not making any more money from Blacklist International. Maybe they're spending even more.
And we should have
Yeah.
doubled down, probably, right?
Yeah.
People are probably thinking that, oh, there's so much fandom around the men's team, the MLBB
Yeah.
men's team. We should have doubled down on that instead of evolving into other things.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that if this was just about hopes and dreams, and if we could just pay the salaries of our people with the fandom that we generate with
Yeah.
the MLBB team, we would love to keep it going.
Yeah.
The problem is that we need to be able to evolve into other things in order, or again, manage our resources well, in order to be able to ensure that the company is healthy in the long term.
Yeah.
So, like there are, I'm sad about the fact that I'm seeing comments online that are very personal attacks with Trike and,
Yeah.
and the company, because Trike doesn't make up the whole company. You know what I mean? Like it's made up of people who have real families and real lives here.
Exactly.
That the comments of people really affect us. As in, like,
Yeah.
to be honest, when things started to come out this week, I was personally affected with, like, damn, like that's how bad it
Yeah.
really is. But I'd like to say that, to all the fans out there, to remember that there are actual living people that are working in
Yep.
Tier 1 that like you just have a family to feed.
Yeah.
So we, as much as we would love to stay, and maybe, and look, we're not close to it. We might return in the near future, maybe not. But what we want to say is that this is a decision that has been made with careful deliberation, with
Yeah.
what the outcomes would be like with the fans and so
Yeah.
on. And at the end of the day, we have to live with this.
Yeah. That was my reaction to that is, come on, guys. A team selling the franchise, it's not done overnight. It's not just a spur of the moment, oh, we don't have any more money kind of thing. It's not as easy as that. To be fair, though, I myself analyze the situation from whatever I know, and I always come up with just the my my guess is that it's the second part where there is already a markup for the initial investment. Now it brought me back to the origins of Tier One because in the end this was a Tier One decision, right? This is not a
Yes.
blacklist decision.
Yes.
So just to clarify to everyone, this is a Tier One decision, and Tier One started as entertainment company.
Yes, entertainment company.
Because
Yep.
it's Tier One entertainment company, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember this was 2017, 18, where when you guys announced, well, you probably weren't there when they announced Blacklist, or were you there?
I was there.
So was it 2019?
No. Oh yeah, it was 2019.
2019 or-
So, I don't
yes.
know. I wasn't there yet, but yeah, I was kind of.
Yeah.
I know what happened. Yeah.
So 2019 was the announcement. ESGs, everybody was so hyped. There were, of course, it was mixed because Tier One, as famous as they are, there's the fan base is always in esports always divided.
Polarized. They're polarized
There you
views.
go.
Yes.
There are polarized views about this. Eventually, when they got Evos, right? So
Mhm.
there were like question marks like, why did they choose Evos? Why did they choose VYs in the end? But lo and behold, the success of Blacklist International was there. However, it made me think, right? Blacklist International is just one part of Tier 1 that it just so happened to be the most successful one. Or maybe the most known or famous one.
I think yes, exactly. Probably it's the most popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but while Blacklist is happening, you still had your talents, right? You still have. Yeah.
We had other things. We had
Yeah.
the gaming house with ABS-CBN, for example. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That eventually produced a lot of good talents. I think
Yes. So-
Danica, Odin, Naisub's
Yeah,
there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, it's portfolio management, right? We look at any other
There you
business.
go.
So you look at the portfolio you're in, the different products that you have. So Blacklist is just one of the many portfolios that
Yep.
we have in Tier One. And that's what I think. It's pretty funny when people say that we've ran out of money
Yeah.
when it's just one part of our business. So, it's not about like it's about resource capacity. So
Yeah,
as
there
with
you go.
any other company,
There you
it's
go.
about resource capacity. How long would it like and this is again, I might get flack for this, but it's gonna take us many years to recoup the amount of investment we made in the MPL.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So with the current revenue streams, and again, like we are one of the healthier sponsorship revenue teams out there, right? You have non-endemic brands like Milo and Globe in Blacklist,
Yeah.
and yet we pulled out. So it would take many years to recoup
Yeah.
the investment that we made, and we saw an opportunity to reallocate some of the resources we're currently invested. We've invested
Yeah.
there into other things that might make us get more significant returns
Yeah.
in the near future.
Okay. So just to summarize for everyone who probably were overwhelmed by all of the economic terms that we've used. So correct me if I'm wrong here, right? So the summary is Tier 1 is not bankrupt at any capacity right now.
Yep.
Blacklist International is just one of the many revenue streams of Tier 1 as a company. And Tier 1 is an entertainment company. And as a company, they have decided that it would be best for the company's interest, especially for keeping their employees and the business running, to reallocate the sources that was once part of Blacklist to other stuff.
Yes.
All
And,
right.
and we're not saying that we're leaving the MLBB space. And yeah, parang,
Yep.
like I saw this one specific comment yesterday na parang he was kind of positivizing. Oh, if it's not healthy, why is it that there are more foreign teams here? Like Liquid is now here in the Philippines, and honestly, I would turn that question back to them. why is it that only foreign teams now can fund
Exactly.
the local league?
Yes.
Why don't you see more local teams involved in the league?
That's right.
Diba? Parang like I saw that one specific comment and it's so to me like it says a lot about wow. There's certain things here that are coming out that are just kind of being turned into clickbait.
Yeah.
Right? When you could have honestly asked this literally the same question. Now, why is it that only foreign teams now or majority of the league is made up of foreign teams? Why can't other local teams spend for the league, diba?
Yeah.
So that's the other way I would ask it, you know?
And to me, I'm pretty sure that it is so difficult to run an esports team here in the Philippines. There was one comment that I saw, the one caption that I saw from a shared, and basically what he said was, it's because it's not profitable to run an esports team in the Philippines. In fact, running an esports team is more like a passion project. That you're very lucky if you break even.
Yeah.
But most likely you don't.
Yeah. And us, we're very profitable. Like I said, our sponsorship revenue is healthy. Right? The problem is that, is it significant enough for the dreams that we have? Because we also have other components of the business that require massive resources. Like the recent event, I don't know, Wolf, if you were there, but Blackout, the kickoff. We allocated. Imagine, like that was a very very profitable venture for us. Imagine
That event alone.
Yes, that event alone. Now that was just a test, right? Again, we're a start. We like testing things. We like testing models and so on. What if we move some of the resources that we have there over to that side? You know what I mean? Like testing things out because, and if it does drive, like exponential growth for us, then why not? If one door, again, this is about like one door closing onto another, right? Then it still provides the same value with the community. You know what I mean? Like, it's still the tier 1 community. It's the same tier 1 and Blacklist community that come to our events anyway. It's just a different platform. It's a different format to support tier 1 and Blacklist.
Yeah. Which is so cool because I also saw some comments where, we'll support you even if it's a different game. So there's a different game. I will not name that game, but you did announce that game that you're entering that space, and a lot of support was there for from the fans.
Oh
of
yeah,
Blacklist
so
International.
Athena, right?
Yeah, and no, the other game.
Oh, HOK?
Yeah.
Oh, am I not allowed to say that? I'm so
I
sorry.
am not allowed. You can say that.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. There was also one misconception where the fans felt that there were important names from Blacklist International and Tier 1 that left the organization, and people were quick to assume that, okay, somebody knew that the boat was already sinking. They got out at the right moment. Right? So this includes like Alodia, for example, and VWise, right? So I saw some of those comments. And I'm pretty sure that that's not the case. I'm sure that, well, obviously it's different between like, because Alodia is like an owner and then VWise are like players, right? So talk to me about this. Like, what's the general...
Sige, I'd like to address that because I love that comment of pasogal na daw kami, we welcome betting brands. That's the reason why Alodia's leaving. Like all of those, man. Like,
where did they get that?
I see some of that, man.
Oh, because when Alodia left, there was rivalry that came to the...
Yes, there were, and also not just that. I mean, we also have other gaming partners that we welcomed, not just on but on the more of the entertainment side also. There were also some gaming partners that we welcomed. Actually, it's not about that. Like, when we made the announcement, it was really more about like the certain. So with the Lodia specifically, it was just kind of at that moment there was a fork in the road with our business. We were going to take we needed to make decisions that were very tough. I think in the following months after Alodia left, we announced the retrenchment, and I'm sure that didn't sit well with her because there were some tough decisions that we've had to make, and I do understand from a creator perspective how that would impact her. I would say like the her own fan base, diba? Because potentially if you have people that were being retrenched in tier 1, there would be some there would be, you would hurt a lot of people, and hurt people, right? So they would say some things online, and then and if I were wearing, and this, look, I don't want to speak on her behalf, but if I were her also and I were thinking about the creator hat, which also generates me income, I would also like kind of at this point maybe let go a little bit because I don't want it to hurt my image, diba?
Just
So,
like how yung kay Nadine, was that a celebrity that announced with the photo of the gambling thing?
yeah, actually, again, it's not about that. Like it was really not. It's just that we were at the we were at the fork in the road. Literally at that moment, I think it was Alodia announced her leaving in December, but we had to have made the difficult decisions around October of 2023. To let go of people. So parang we've known then na we were gonna be letting go of people, and to me, like, again, I don't want to speak on her behalf. I thanked her, I messaged her personally, like, for the friendship and all, but again, if I'm looking at from a business perspective, if I was a creator and I was generating income, I would own as a personality, I would also try to veer away from all the drama that was about to happen with tier 1. So with us letting go of people at that time. So that's how I would think about it, right?
Yeah.
The other thing to that is also life stage, diba? I mean, if your ownership has matured enough and you take profit, why not? Right? So yun.
That's the thing that most people don't understand. Some people know when to let go.
Exactly.
When to move on. When to already quit while you're ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now I'll speak to the VY's thing naman. So them leaving, so obviously there's some people from our organization in tier 1 that moved over to the other organization, right? And I love them. To this day, I will never speak ill of the people who were on the back end of tier 1 that moved over to that side.
Okay.
I think they were very brilliant people. In fact, one of them was the reason why I moved over to tier 1. But if you look at who's really funding that organization, then we can't compete in terms of resources. Meaning, how can we compete with that organization and who's funding that, man? Like, we're a company that is not, and people like to say gaming, diba? Parang gambling brands.
Nobody in the Philippines can match
them, right? I mean,
one.
that is, look at who's funding that organization. No one can compete. So if they decide to just put an offer on the table for our athletes like VYs and we can never do a counter that's equal to that because they're generating income like crazy on their real business. Esports is just a marketing tool for them, and again, I urge you to look at who the owners are of that organization and think and rethink your stance on us being the ones that are really skewed towards gambling and betting and all of that.
And the economy is just difficult nowadays, especially right after the pandemic. I've also heard that we've had spiked so much when it comes to revenue for esports, but then when people started to return to office, that's when brands don't, usually invest anymore.
Yes, there was such a boom during the pandemic because people were more at home. Right, and it in fact it grew. I think it grew more during the pandemic. But you're right. There's more activities now. In terms of passion point, what's trending right now is health and wellness. That's why you have an uptick on running and other type of physical activities.
Physical fitness. And right now, even in esports, that's why they say that it was more difficult in 2023 and 2024 to sell esports brands, broadcasts, whatever to compared to when they were during where they were during 2022 to 2020, 2020 to 2022. Nevertheless, yeah, so with VYs and the rest of the other blacklist members like that eventually went to the organization.
We just can't compete with the money,
Yeah.
man. With that type of money.
Yeah, but is it so? There wasn't any like other issues that happened in between. Like obviously, people will just create unnecessary drama. Like people will say that yeah, they were ungrateful was a word that was so tossed
Mm-hmm.
so much around during that period, if you know my
Yeah.
meaning. But to me, the way I see it is that these kids wanted to put food on the table, and they obviously chose the greener pasture.
Yeah. I mean, good on them, man. Like I said, we are a company that is. We have to be very prudent with how we manage our finances,
Yeah.
right? Because we do not have other sources of revenue like that other team does, which is very cash liquid. And we are here really bootstrapping and with
Yes.
our investors our way into esports.
Yeah.
Whereas other esports teams are backed by a business like that,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, it's the pragmatic truth to it is we just don't have the money to compete with
Yeah.
them, man.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that clears the that clears the issue about the boat is sinking. The boat wasn't sinking when they left. It's just that they had a fork in the road, like I said.
Yes, exactly. So that fork again, just we had to diversify into other ventures, and that was it.
Yeah. So, all right. When Trike announced Blacklist International from Tier 1 again, it was a bit of a shock. And obviously, people had mixed feelings about it. Eventually, Blacklist International as an esports brand became successful. And people are now starting to say that, okay, yeah, that probably was the right decision to eventually mount an esports team. And then there was another big one when he said that, okay, let me get all of your favorite Filipino esports players. Let's put it in one team. If you're a Dota 2 fan, you know that's gonna be possibly the worst decision you're ever gonna do from a Filipino organization, right?
Yeah,
that
right.
was legitimately, or from outside looking in, that's gonna be a bad decision. And this is this is me saying because I know that the upkeep for Dota 2 teams is incredibly,
Yeah.
my
The,
goodness,
the economics are
expensive.
broken, right?
So much. Like one player could fund an entire MLBB team.
Oh, that's how much you know.
No, I mean like
yeah, that's
right.
true. That's true.
Because
That's
I know Dota 2, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I know some part of MLB, and I know that just paying one Dota 2 player
It's enough to fund
an entire MLBB team. So that's how it is. We're not
An MLBB team that's not in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Because the league is you have to pay
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah,
right?
the minimum, right.
The franchise.
So during that moment, everybody was just, okay, yeah, sure, we're happy about this. All Filipino team. We know that it's not gonna work. It's gonna be a fun ride. We're in it. I want to ask you and your perspective. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
When is it a good investment, and when is it so much of a passion project that you have to put some stuff to and hold Trike by the neck and say, hey, I know that's your dream, but it might not work.
It's not even about that because I do think that first of all, people seem to think that Kai likes to run unilateral decisions in the company.
All right.
But the truth of the matter is, one, we have investors and board members that can literally just
Slap some money.
yeah. Literally, like
Yeah.
they can tell him no, and anybody in the company can say no.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it wasn't a unilateral decision. It never is when it comes to Trike.
Great to know.
It is
Great to know.
I remember this. So, sige, kwento ko na nga. Like, I remember this call, si Trike, tinawagan na ni Trike one time. Okay, this is literally the way Trike and I make decisions on certain things that we want to invest in. Sasabihin niya sa akin na, there was this personality before. Bray, ang tingin mo dito, kaya ba natin pondohan to? Like, makakahanap ba tayo ng sponsors to, para matest natin yung market na to? Kung kaya natin. And then, syempre ako, I'm doing the calculations in my head. Hold on, let me see. Okay, this is how much it's gonna take. This is how much the current, ito yung pipeline natin ngayon on sales. How much of this can we actually close? And then I'll say, sige, test natin, pero ganito lang kalaki. Ganon nangyayari. Like, parang, it's not essentially like a unilateral thing. Like, he really gets the sense of how much revenue can we actually bring in. So, like, as contrary to popular belief, the Dota 2 team is not essentially a losing business when it comes to at least ours when it comes to sustaining itself.
Okay.
So, yes, we didn't generate
I like your words.
we didn't generate the exponential revenue that we would have in other titles. Hindi naman kami lugi. Pero like we had enough sponsors or sponsorship revenue to sustain it. So,
great.
I'd like to I applaud even our partners and our sponsors in that Dota 2 team because they believed in it as much as we do, to the point that we reallocated certain budgets to help to help achieve the pricing that we set for it. And it's crazy, man. Like, our deals in the Dota 2 team would never even come close to the deals that we're generating for their other titles. Because the deals that I'm closing there, the first deal I closed there was similar deal size as what I'm normally close to closing. What I normally close in sports in one championship. So, you're talking high six-figure US dollar deals. So we can it actually increased the basket size of Tier 1 having the Dota 2 team. So, again, this is just about testing a market, right? We're all about testing. And we tested out Dota 2 team as much as good as it is. The flywheel needs getting worked on. It needs to get worked on. So, people seem to think na we funded that. That's the reason why we can't fund the other things. No.
Yeah.
It's actually our sponsors funded that venture. That's how much they believe in it.
Yeah.
Now, on the technical side of it not working out on the potential TI journey, you might be right, but it created a lot of noise. At the end of the day, we're all just walking billboards, like I said earlier. It's entertainment, and it worked. There were a lot of eyeballs, and unfortunately, it didn't work out in terms of performance. So it is what it is. But it generated the media value it needed to generate for our sponsors.
Great.
Yeah.
So to summarize for everyone out there, surely they've invested a lot. People spent a lot of money for that venture, but at the same time, it did not. It wasn't a losing business, as you've mentioned.
Yes.
People who needed to get paid got paid.
Yep.
That's what's important, right? Although we didn't eventually make it to TI, it served its purpose of creating, generating views, generating reach,
Correct. Media value.
that the sponsors wanted at the first place with their investment.
Correct.
And eventually, everybody, Tier 1, at least Tier 1 and the sponsors are happy with the result.
Yeah.
Right.
We just couldn't sustain it. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, they did say, I think I went to this to the announcement. It was in New Manila.
Yep.
I was there, and I think they also mentioned that they are just gonna try it for a year or so, or something like that. They give a
concrete
rough,
timeline.
Concrete timeline. There you go. And you actually were you did it.
We wanted to see if we can sustain it. But look, I think all of these things we're always hopeful, diba? Like,
of course.
And like I said, I know that it hurts a lot of people when certain decisions, difficult decisions, are being made. I understand that, but we have very up to this day we still have very high hopes for esports and gaming.
Of course.
Unfortunately, the reality is some of those don't materialize, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping, because at the time, do you remember this? When we entered Dota, diba? Parang there was a minimum $150,000 franchise fee to actually enter Dota 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later, Valve rescinded that.
Oh, yes.
Wala na, diba?
DPC with the DPC.
Yes. Tapos, and then the prize pool kind of got lower. And imagine, like, we still entered. Like, we were just hopeful that things would turn.
Yeah.
We were giving it a try for the fans and for the business to grow, right? Because you're essentially with Dota 2, you're unlocking a more international audience, diba?
Yeah.
It's part of our expansion into other markets. So it really did play well into the broader business strategy, into entering the other markets like Malaysia and so on, with a global product, with a global IP like Dota 2. But unfortunately, again, like you get into realities where the economics are broken. It's just part of it. Like it's just part of the cycle.
Yeah.
But we're very hopeful. I hope people understand that when we do these things, we come in on it from a very optimistic view.
Yes.
That things would change.
Yeah.
We're in fact we're putting, you know, when you say like other organizations have pulled out of Dota, etc., and we're coming in now.
Yeah.
That should show you already how much we love the community.
Exactly.
Diba? Parang we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and risk and put some stake in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope people see it that way. We have had to make difficult decisions, but we remain optimistic for the space.
Yeah. So I'm looking at I'm the way I see this is that you look at it in an optimistic and pragmatic standpoint. How much of it, like, is it like an even 50% of like optimism and pragmatism with the way that Tier 1 operates? I just wonder, for example, this venture for Blacklist Rivalry or Dota 2, how much of it is just optimism and love for the game, for the esport, and how much
pragmatic view?
How much is like?
Yeah. So okay, how are these decisions kind of being, or how do those things marry, diba? Like,
Exactly.
So okay, this again, I'll talk into something that's anecdotal here, right?
Nice.
So when we
I
were
love it.
when we were deciding to enter or in fact when we were coming up with the commercial packages for the Dota 2 team, we really established a certain price point in mind, kasi we looked at obviously the other competitors, Fnatic and all the other teams, how much they're pricing their packages.
Yeah.
Ang mahal.
Yep.
To begin
Very
with. How much to sponsor a Dota 2 team? It's really expensive.
Yeah.
But imagine that, like a small company or let's say a local company in the Philippines being able to get to those types of price points is something that we wanted to uncover. So yes, there's that optimism, seeing if we can do it, diba?
Yeah.
I remember a very specific day when we were at the boardroom. It was me, Trike, Ikoy, and a couple of other commercial directors, and we were seeing, like, I remember seeing Ikoy, para sabi niya, tangina, mahal nito. Puta. May bibili kayang kliyente, di ba? Kasi parang ang taas.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's challenging ourselves to the norm, di ba? Like even amongst ourselves, na parang ano, Ikoy, kaya ba natin to, pare?
Yeah.
Kaya ba natin to? And then we got it. Like, you know, like I remember how the Predator. You
can. It's okay.
I can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember very specifically. Shout out to Princess. How we closed that deal. So I invited Princess to dinner across our office in Wildflower, and I showed her, look, we're entering Dota 2 team. You're my first call. Yeah. Because obviously you've been in this space. You've been a good partner of ours. I showed her the package, etc. And sabi niya, "Bre, mahal naman." Like,
yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll be honest with you. Look, this is something that will be a different. This is now not how we would normally close deals. It's a different price point. It is what it is, but this is really what we need, and it will. We can evaluate. And what's good is that we have the tools, kasi. So we invested in tools to be able to evaluate the media value we were going to be generating.
Great.
So as versus whereas in sports, Nielsen Sports would tell you 2.3x would be the average benchmark for sports sponsorship. So that's the ROSI, what you call ROSI, return on sponsorship investment. So you would generate about 2.3x. We were above that. So I showed her na parang this would be above that in terms of benchmarking performance, media value, etc., etc. And we walked away with that same night. I closed the deal with her, shock on it. Next day we were contracting.
My God. Okay.
Yeah. So it even myself coming back to the Philippines is such a different where you don't have a cross market inventory. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a regional inventory. It's a domestic play, and now we do. But then I have to upscale the team. I have to let Ikoy believe. I have to let Pauji believe that we can sell this thing. Kaya natin to. And that night changed the way we view ourselves. Kaya, it's possible. We can get to this price point. Kaya. So we remained optimistic in that sense. But the pragmatic sense in us is,
always
kaya
there.
ba to? Kaya ba talaga to? And because we were so used to closing a certain deal size, right?
Yeah. So you're saying na yung return, the ROSI, right? So return of sponsorship investment, so ROSI. When you say it's 2.3x and you're above that, let's just say it's 3. Let's just put a random arbitrary number. Let's say it's 3. Are you saying that if a brand like Globe, for example, invested $1 million, they are gonna get back $3 million by the end of the year or something like that?
In media value.
In media value. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
The price of what they get for their money.
Yes,
basically.
yes. Correct.
Because they're not gonna get the money back essentially, but in kind, in cash, but in
awareness,
value,
right?
In
brand
awareness.
lift, like
so for example, I'm just doing this so that the viewers can understand, because some of my viewers don't have any idea of this.
No, the sponsorship model, I understand.
Let's just say company A and you guys. So if I pay company A $3 million and they will generate 3 million eyeballs as well, 1:1. For you guys, if I pay you 3 million, you're gonna give back 9 million eyeballs.
Yes,
something like that.
Yes. That's the reason why we grew our fandom, diba? I mean, that's the reason why we also have creators in order to achieve the media valuation that we need. So it's amplified, diba? I mean, you can see it naman. Like the rival, the Blacklist rivalry team also had Pinda Panda and Bianca Yao on board.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So as a sponsorship package, you're also essentially getting them to amplify, whereas other teams probably wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Whew. That's, it's so great to know. And I think more people need to hear about your success with Blacklist rivalry, because people normally don't think that as a success. Which
it really isn't from a technical, let's say, standpoint, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of, again, if you just zoom out, this is an entertainment property.
Yeah.
It did entertain.
Yeah, which is great, because I think this might, and hopefully it does, inspire more Filipino or local brands, or at least Southeast Asian brands to invest more in this kind of business, because there's already proof that it works.
Yeah, it really does. And look, gaming in itself is such a because people seem to think na, especially with Dota, like Dota is a PC title, diba? So you would have a more qualified group, because everybody can have mobile phones. Not everybody can have a PC phone, a PC setup, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a PC, you would spend typically around 50 to 100K on it, right? So that essentially gives you a more qualified demographic na may spending power.
Yeah.
Diba? So yun rin yung gusto namin eh. Kasi we were already known for mobile titles. we wanted to upscale naman our demographics to belong to offer to our brand partners a different set of customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My perspective didn't change nung when I saw again the relatively quick not really downfall but end a period to the Dota 2 squad that's all Filipino, because I knew that there wasn't enough money that you get from advertising from a Dota 2 team compared to what you spend, right? So for example, like I said, you would spend more if you're a Dota 2 fan. In fact, studies also show that there are literally no new players for Dota 2. The same fans
Or the same
play, the
rabid
same
fans.
fans.
Yeah, yeah.
So it meant that it was really a big gamble, I guess.
It is a big gamble. But what I'll say to that is anecdotally, when I was still in One Esports, we had the Southeast Asia qualifiers. I don't know if you were there. This was around 2019.
I wasn't there yet.
This is in December. That's the first time actually I met Doms when they were still in TNC. So Lagabi, that's where I actually met them first. We looked at the basket size of our esports fans in terms of merch, binibili nila. So, kasi diba you sell merch at the event.
Yeah.
And we looked at the basket size of per fan versus martial arts fan, a sports fan.
Yeah.
Mas maraming binibili yung esports fan. So it's about 3x the basket size of the purchase of an average sports fan. So they actually do spend more on the fandom.
Yeah. By the way, big shout outs to the data gathering. I'm not gonna name the actual department, but yeah, the data gathering department of One Esports there. Really good. Really good at what they're doing.
I'll shout out, you know. Just
Shout
kidding.
out to you guys. All right. So here, Trike also talked about during. By the way, I never really introduced that video that we were talking about, but basically this was the most recent interview with Trike where he revealed so much. It was an 18-minute video, I think, with the press, and he also mentioned that. With the proverbial end of the day, that it was just a asset versus revenue kind of decision, and I think it checks out with what you just explained and what we've talked about the entirety. Now, this is interesting because he said gaming is a limitation for potential revenue. I wonder what he meant by that, or what tier one. How did that statement come to be?
Okay. So, I think we talked earlier about the fandom kind of plateauing already from the pandemic, right?
Yes.
We've kind of reached a certain ceiling here already.
Yes.
That's what it means. So that's what I mean. That's what we mean by limitation. So again, zooming out from a advertiser perspective, how much can I actually spend in esports and gaming, right?
Yeah.
And how many fans can I actually generate from there, or customers can actually generate from there, as opposed to having gaming, having music, having lifestyle influencers, diba? So that's what it means. Kasi I don't want to preempt anything, but we're also expanding into other verticals. Kaya nga nag-blackout kami last year. So we're expanding into music, diba? I mean, Josh Cullen is a personality that's co-managed under Tier 1 because of his gaming side. So we're able to help him commercialize. He's part of our commercial inventory. If you guys want to partner with Josh, you reach out to us on this link. Just kidding. Nag-plug na eh.
Because it's funny because I just saw I'm part of this group called ICAP. You know that independent creators, and there was a question where, hey, any leads to how to connect to Josh Cullen, which is there it is. There's the guy.
So that's some of it, diba?
Okay.
That's what he meant by there's a certain limitation because you're only reaching a specific demographic. Now, Tier 1 wants to broaden our fan base. Kasi we did a study rin na, actually if I had some slide to show you, but there's actually some intersections between music fans and gaming fans at a certain level. Diba? Parang ganon. So, we're very strategic into our venture beyond gaming. So, yun, we're expanding into other passion points.
Yeah. So, I think yung biggest na intersection will be like the anime and the pop culture.
Correct.
Space. So, did you ever guys? You have cosplayers, right? So
We did sila Kite or Knight.
Oh
Knight,
yeah. The he's not a Filipino, right?
No,
Yeah.
they're not Filipino. So yes, but yeah.
Yeah.
There are some overlaps. But we're focusing on certain overlaps that also trend very that are trending and growing. So not to again preempt anything, but look at Bianca, diba? Bianca is now has her own run club. Diba? The Gamers Run Club, diba? So you can see also that some of the gamers are also expanding into other passion points. So they're going into new territories, and we want to kind of follow with them into those territories.
Yeah, I see. So it's so gaming is a limitation for potential revenue. It looks like a daunting sentence, but it's mainly if you limit yourselves to gaming, you're limiting your potential revenue.
Correct.
Yeah,
No.
all right. So that's a better I guess yun yung easier to digest. Kasi when I heard that gaming is a limitation, I mean, if you're a gamer, if you're very passionate about gaming, you're gonna be scared. Especially in my case, like I'm an esports shoutcaster and also a podcaster for esports, coach for esports, and then I hear things like gaming is a limitation for potential revenue.
Yeah, revenue kasi is revenue in entertainment is a function of the population. So you qualify, let's say, okay, this is the gaming population, then it's just literally how much you could earn.
Yeah.
Diba? Pero there are other passion points. There's
Yeah.
music, there's lifestyle, there's health and wellness, there's sports. Diba? So if you grow into those other verticals, then you grow into the other types of population.
Yeah.
And trickle down effect is more revenue.
Speaking of lifestyle, your merch is so good. Actually, may ninakaw nga kay Dilar na ano eh. He left his jacket here. So I'm not giving it back to him anymore. Sorry,
Which one?
Dilar.
The back to one?
The most recent one. Is it back to one? The
denim
bomber jacket?
Yeah, the denim jacket that's black.
Yes.
Is it that one?
Yeah, back to one.
Yeah, that's a collaboration with a streetwear brand. I forget
Yeah,
what
it
it's
is
called.
back to, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you still get... so are you...
That's a very limited edition, man.
Are you guys gonna stop making these stuff na? I hope not.
No, look, I think siguro what I'll say is largely the merchandise, the lifestyle business is driven by the jersey revenue.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why we tested out those collaborations, in fact, we did one with PMC recently, a Malaysian streetwear brand. Yung sinuot ni Trek dun sa press con. That's another collab.
Yeah, all right.
So, because we wanted to venture into other, we actually have a whole plan for it.
Nice.
To other sort of style, diba? Fashion.
Yeah.
In fact, there's our new marketing manager comes from a fashion school. I forget what it's called. Saint something in London. So, he was the one. Shout out to you, Jamon. But he proposed to us yung certain new lines that we can explore in lieu of jerseys. Kasi nga, it's our way into expanding into other verticals.
Yeah.
We want to be able to provide clothing that you wear beyond the game, diba? Parang you wear outside and you'd be proud to use it.
Exactly.
You know? So
yeah.
Definitely we would probably pick our punches when it comes to our releases. Probably the shift in direction, you would see probably more limited edition releases.
Nice.
Yun, like what you have. Para din
sorry, Dilar. Yeah. But yeah, kasi Blacklist is known for selling merch then, and at the same time, the merch is good, and you can honestly wear them without screaming esports ako or something like that, which is I think great. Hopefully that continues, and hopefully we still there's still love for that kind of that part of the business.
Black box.
Black
So
box,
that black box.
exactly.
That's called black box. So
Yeah.
black box will continue. So
Nice.
yeah. We'll be again. We'll be picking strategically where we're present in moving forward. The store is still there. If you guys wanna come visit, it's in Tomas Morato. Nag-plug na. No?
Nice.
Third floor. Yeah. Come visit the black box store.
Saan to?
Third floor ng Bellagio building, Tomas Morato.
Oh yeah.
On
Right,
top of
Not-
Amici.
Yeah. So that's not difficult to miss actually. Yeah, that's not difficult to
Yeah,
miss.
yeah.
You can
You'll
see
see
it.
the story there.
Yeah, all right. Okay, now at the last part of the interview, there was about from Trike. There was also him talking about like change. I don't think that he specified, but I wonder when you say there will be changes. That's very general. I know obviously there will be changes, but does this mean that you are temporarily leaving the gaming space or just the MLBB space or
Yeah, so I mean, look, the MLBB men's team is probably the biggest change that will happen for the year. That's about it.
okay.
I'm happy with our announcement nung December of the MLBB women's team. I don't know if you
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
you saw that. That's in partnership with Palmolive.
Mhm.
Imagine a big brand like Palmolive entering
Exactly.
esports, diba? With Blacklist International. So that's a big step up, especially with non-endemic brands like that.
Mhm.
They're stepping up to kind of really come in and look, parang the women's team is something na I'm very excited about because we didn't necessarily have a product before to welcome brands like Palmolive, diba? Like,
Yeah.
who's a very institutional brand in entertainment, diba? Maraming pinasikat si Palmolive, diba? Like,
sumusunod siya.
yeah, if you're a Palmolive girl, you would have that kind of badge of honor in,
Yeah.
like Liza Soberano sa
Yeah.
Palmolive girl, Heart Evangelista, all of those big names were all once Palmolive girls. And
Yeah.
imagine like you have Blacklist International, the women's team, as a Palmolive, as the new Palmolive influencers
Yeah.
along with Bianca Yao, some of our other creators like Aisha. Danica is also a
Danica,
Palmolive
yeah.
girl now. So
Congrats.
yeah. Those are like strategic, siguro, not changes, but the way we sustain the MLBB community, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting our resources now behind our female team.
I
It's not in lieu of the MLBB men's team. It's just kind of a more I guess auxiliary. Parang it would add on to our I'd say commercial products, diba? And siguro that MLBB men's would probably mark at least for this year the big change, right? The second is at least for this kung change lang. Now, adding on to, diba, the current slew of inventory or entertainment portfolio that we have, Blackout will be much bigger this year. So in June, we're the venue that we've agreed with will cater to about 10,000. 10 to 30,000 attendees depending on the hectare
I thought you were gonna say it already.
nakunin namin. So we have let's just put it this way. We're aiming to have an international talent coming. So again, it's adding on to, we saw the proof point. It's about testing. We saw the proof point in Blackout, the kickoff in December. I would like to thank the fans for coming.
Yeah.
Honestly, ang benchmark namin was about 2,500. And then the PNP numbers came in, the clicker numbers.
Yeah.
It went to about above 5K.
Foot traffic is double now.
Yes.
Damn.
Double yung so dun kami mag-add on to in terms of resource. We saw a very good proof point of that event. And also because I think like gaming, it's a mix of gaming, music, and art. Art is also an underserved community,
Yes, sir.
right? So you look at the number of events that are around art that as big as that is, are very few.
Yeah.
You would have art fair in
Comic-Con.
Glorieta, diba? Yeah, Comic-Con and all of those. There's not a lot of tentpole activities that actually marry gaming, music, and art. So when we partnered with Guhit Pilipinas, that was our vision to kind of put it all together. And then, obviously the P-pop community. So
Yeah.
gaming, music, and art is really where we want to grow this year. Yeah.
Hey, just a question, because we've seen a lot of there's a lot of, I guess, failure especially when you upscale an event like that, a convention like that, or a gathering or whatever. We've seen this go badly before. And I know that you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And you're saying if you are gonna be housing 10 to 20K, that's practically 10 times that from when you first started, in a span of less than a year.
About 3x actually.
3x, or yeah. But that's still a lot.
That's still a lot, yeah.
In a span of less than a year, are you not scared?
So look, I think why we think we can execute is, again, we're about partnership. So
I see a pattern here.
If you're familiar with All That Matters in Singapore, so they strategically placed their events around certain tentpole activities. So I was on All That Matters during F1 week. So that was part of the F1 week.
Nice.
So ang nakita namin dito is that we want to bring the same experiences as, let's say, an F1 week where there's a tentpole event at the end of it. So what's gonna happen essentially for that mega event week would be All That Matters, PBW, the Philippine Blockchain Week, leading up to Blackout. So why are we so confident in that is again because we're not somebody that thinks that we can do this on our own.
Yeah.
We like to partner with
That's nice to know.
Yeah, with properties that are well established, like Philippine Blockchain Week and All That Matters. And we latch onto them also, 'di ba? Parang kasi nga it's been just 6 months since we did our first event. We're relatively new in this space. We're not gonna pretend like we know all. So we need to latch onto these strong properties like All That Matters and Philippine Blockchain Week. So in order to drive up the excitement and the awareness for our own event.
Yeah. I see a pattern here. Just like when you started the Dota team, right? Big upscale. Investors. Hopefully go successfully, dude.
Yeah. Well, you can't do it all on your own, man. Like the world doesn't work that way. As much as I'd love to, as much as we'd love to take credit for all of these things, we didn't do it alone, man.
Yeah.
Like we have partners that we believe in, and vice versa. They believe in us, and we do it together with them. Yeah.
All right. Hey, is there anything else that we needed to clarify from the blacklist? Yeah. So wait.
The exit.
If there's an exit, there should be an entry. Like we cannot have just 7 teams or 6 teams. So we do have. So when you exit, you don't like literally just pull out. You sell the franchise.
Yeah. We
right?
sell the franchise. Yeah.
Okay.
So we sold it.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
That's clarification for everyone.
Why? Is it new news that we
No,
sold
it's like I just want that to come from you guys, because I think you're obviously the more reliable source about it. So when you sold this team, so a new name is coming to MPL for sure.
Yes. There's a new name, again, an international one, right? So that acquired.
So that's the clue.
Yeah. There's no other local team that can actually take on the not to minimize everybody else's pocket, or not to count everybody else's pockets, but I think I at this point I think I could say na the value of the franchise has gone up significantly.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure if other domestic organizations can actually take it on unless they have other markets. So so you would expect a foreign organization to be coming in our stead.
Yeah, at the same time, it kind of makes me think the local investors that we have. You think more highly of them now because of what recently happened. For example, I guess the longest standing here is TNC.
Are they? They're pretty new.
No, I mean like for the franchise.
Yeah,
So
but they're pretty new, right? They weren't there at the
they
beginning.
were at the beginning. They were
Yeah.
season 8.
They were?
Yeah, they were TNC.
Oh, was TNC there?
Yeah, they were
Okay,
one of
okay.
the first.
Right.
year.
Yeah, you're right.
So
yeah.
along with Smart Omega, and right now it should be AP Bren because they have announced, right, that Falcon. I think they've announced. Well, whatever. So and most particularly, at least for Smart Omega, I know that they can stay because they have a big brand. Smart's there.
Yeah.
In TNC's case, and people are really wondering about this. Maybe you know something about this, but how is it that they are staying in the competition despite their results?
Right.
5 straight, no playoffs. They're still in the business.
Right. So I might be talking out of my ass here, but so I'm sorry if I forgot that TNC is
Season 10.
is still here. But look, how is it that they're still on board? I don't know. That's something that Sir Eric could probably clarify. But they're with us kasi we're I can only speak on our behalf, and we have to look at ourselves as again an entertainment property.
Yeah.
So like kudos to them for staying on board.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that.
I
But
know.
my thing is probably they I love honestly how the TNC team ever since when I was still in One Esports, I was a huge fan of theirs. And I really do hope that they keep it going. That's what
Yeah.
I'll say. Yeah.
So, I mean, when I asked this, so that was a season ago, they basically mentioned, although there wasn't any detail at all, but they said that, no, we're actually okay. Like, cash flow wise, they're actually okay. That's what they say. So, I don't know how that happened.
Okay. So are you saying no? Okay. So let's just put it this way: you won't be losing money, naman eh. When you enter the league, you won't be losing any money, unless if your sponsorship revenue is healthy. Kasi we're certainly not losing money It's just that like your earnings again, it's just about portfolio management.
Oh,
Your
there you
earnings would be growing exponentially in at least for ours, in our other properties, in our other portfolio. So it's just that like we're not losing any money in being in the MPL. We're not.
remember that to everyone who's listening, it's not about how much you're earning in MPL. It's not about how much money you lose. Essentially, it's more about like how much you use that to pivot into.
No,
That's yeah.
it's portfolio management.
Portfolio
So
management, there we
exponential
go.
growth, 'di ba? Parang
Wow.
You can
Didn't think
yeah, you
about this
when
way.
you're so on average probably like a restaurant would get about at best a 3-year ROI, 'di ba?
Yeah,
But we're operating very differently eh.
yeah,
So being in a startup space, being in a venture capital space, we should be 10x our value in like Facebook, diba? Like parang if you're in the startup space, you're looking at 10x your value in a short amount of time, however long that takes. Now,
yeah.
getting to 10x as tier 1 entertainment will just not if we stay in the MPL, will just
There
not
you
get us there. You get what I mean? Yun yung long and short of it. Parang yung
I get it now.
yeah, if you're like a TNC, you're not naman trying to grow exponentially in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You'll be good with, let's say, a return every year as long as
Yeah.
it's not negative. You're good. So
Damn. Okay, now I
gets mo na.
understand.
Yeah, with a company like Tier 1. Sorry, I didn't say that at the beginning of this.
Yeah, it's
That
okay.
we are a venture-backed company. But people need to understand we are a startup, and startup businesses operate very differently than private equity
That's right.
businesses. Private equity are happy with 2x, 1x,
Yeah,
1
yeah, yeah.
return in a year. Kami, we have to grow the 10x. Yeah.
But at the same time, the values are also very different.
Correct.
The values are
Yeah.
very
Valuations
different.
are very different.
That's very skewed.
Uh-huh.
But thank you for saying that. I think again, to summarize, guys, they're not. We are not aiming to we're fine. Some organizations are fine with just breaking even year after year. Tier 1 is not fine with that. They want 10x. That's why they are venturing into
So that
other
we
spaces.
want that. We have it's our total goal
Yeah,
between
yeah.
the investors, our capitalists.
Yes.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if I stay here in MLBB, I'm not helping myself to get to 10x. Sure, I'll get 2x, 1x, but I
3x,
want
yeah.
10x.
Yeah.
Life's this, I want this. Harvey Specter tayo dyan. Dude, okay. I don't know if there's any more that you want to clarify about the situation.
No,
If
no.
we didn't skip anything.
Yeah. So what I'll say, maybe as a closing message to the
Yeah.
fans, na I want to emphasize that number one, Trike doesn't make unilateral decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hate, because he's a good friend of mine also, and I hate that as a friend I hate that people crucify him for this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's unfair. He called me like he was the phone call that woke me up this morning. It's like sabi tuwag siya, Bray, gising ka na? Trike, ano meron? Sabi niya, nakikita ko ba yung mga nangyari? Sabi ko, gago, kagabi ko pa pinag-iisipan to. Hindi ako makatulog dahil sa mga pinagsasabi nila sa'yo. It's so unfair.
Yeah.
And literally, tiga pa ito nga
Sige.
yung message na kanina. Like, to. And sabi niya, and text siya sa akin, grabe yung bakbakan sa internet. Sabi ko, kakawumustahin pa nga lang kita eh.
Yeah.
Grabe pare. Sabi niya, wala parte yun. Tapos tumawag na ako sa kanya. And then pinag-usapan na namin. Tapos parang sabi ko sa kanya, I'll be coming on to Wolf's podcast.
Cool.
Because I feel like it's unfair. And that's me being a friend to, to this guy. Because that's essentially, we're a close-knit family inside Tier 1. We really are. It's unfair that he's being crucified with this alone when it hasn't been a unilateral decision.
Yeah.
And siguro the other thing that I'd like people to remember is that Blacklist, because of MLBB men's leaving, will not close down. Like parang we're not leaving esports and gaming. It's just one title of the very many titles that we are in. In fact, we're gonna be in. We will most likely be in the Esports World Cup again this year, because it's a 3-year commitment that we made with them. So, like we're gonna be during that time we're gonna be having other titles also. We're still currently in Pokemon, diba? We're still in Paravox, Apex. We're still in Apex right now. So parang it's unfair to the other teams na who are still competing. In fact, like I know this is an MPL podcast, but the other titles that we are on mobile, like imagine like how would our MLBB women's team feel about this? Na parang there's a lot of I do understand the community with us. I get it, but you have to remember that there are also other teams in Blacklist International that are competing right now, and it also affects the morale of the team in hearing these very hurtful personal. It's okay, air it out, but be fair. Be fair. There are also other teams under Blacklist International that are also competing right now. Yeah.
And these are the moments where you'd wish Trike would have had more time than just the 18 minutes. And at the same time, to all the viewers out there who have strong opinions about this Blacklist exit, we're not saying that you should stop hating on someone or you should stop, should change your decision or what you feel. We're not saying that, we're not, what's the term? Making Trike a saint here. We're not making him a saint here.
Yeah.
We're just explaining what was the decision from the Blacklist exit. Because unfortunately, it cannot be summed up in just 18 minutes. In fact, even this more than an hour podcast is not even enough.
Yes.
To tell you what happened, and we're just here to assure you that it wasn't a 1 week decision. It wasn't a one guy decision.
Correct.
This is there's a team that studied this
Yes.
for months
Yes.
to come up with a decision.
Correct. There
Yeah.
is a whole study and,
Yeah.
and everything. It's quantified and everything.
Yeah. So I have just two questions that might have long answers before we go. The first one being, surely, Tier 1 as a company, it's great for, it's okay for the business, whatever the decision was. However, what is Tier 1 doing for the sake of the players themselves? Because that's what I'm more concerned of, right? I could probably care less about Tier 1 because I know that they can keep themselves afloat. You guys can keep yourselves afloat. But I'm thinking about, like, what
The
did you
athletes.
guys to do with the athletes so that they aren't the one who's suffering because of this move? Because some esports teams, dude, they're gonna be sacrificing their players just so
For
they can get
sure.
out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Look, this is just one of the many ways that we're lending goodwill. Okay, here's a good
Yeah.
example of that. During this transition period, we're helping them find their new homes. And in fact, if we were really, really just about the business and
Yeah.
and the pragmatist supposedly that we are, we wouldn't have waived their non-compete clauses.
Exactly.
Diba?
Put an
To- and-
expensive
and-
buyout.
Yeah, exactly. And make it harder on them to leave.
Yeah.
But, and even among the management committee, people were also against about us waiving the non-competes kasi that's potentially leaving money on the table, di ba?
It hurts the economy, basically.
Exactly. It hurts the money that we're supposed to be getting. But we did.
Yeah.
We waived the non-compete of our athletes.
Yeah.
So that's one example of goodwill that we're giving to them. So we're helping them find their homes and we waive their non-competes.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know. And para din malesen para din everybody is aware how much we're thinking about them. Yun.
And I hope there's no... again, these are some horror stories. Sometimes when a team gets dissolved, they don't get paid for the remaining months. Some of their contract is not... you know how teams would find some loopholes with their contract saying that if we go bankrupt, this is what we don't get anything or something like that. I hope that's not the case.
No.
I hope that you're taking care of the boys.
So whenever and this is how broken the economy is, diba? Para actually I want to talk about this kasi
Sure,
this
let's
is
do it.
something na
Let's do it.
this is something that I might be crucified for also. One is I also currently hold a board of director role in the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines. One of the projects I'm very passionate about in fixing the economy of the creator economy and the entertainment economy as a whole is the 90-day payment term of sponsors to agencies and the creators and consequently the athletes.
Yeah.
So it's such a broken system. A lot of us or primarily we have to absorb, let's say, because unfair din naman to creators and to athletes who are also living on a month-to-month basis, and some of them obviously don't come from a wealthy background, so they're living hand to mouth, diba?
Yeah.
Na to ask them to wait 90 days for your
Exactly.
payment.
Yeah.
So we actually front it. People rarely talk about, we're the last to get paid. People rarely talk about that,
Yeah.
right? Na the agencies and the agencies and the teams are always normally the last to get paid because there's normally a 60 to 90 day payment term from when the sponsors pay. So you guys have to understand this na all of these delays, it's not because we're using the money for something else.
Yeah.
It just is. We actually front a lot of the money and we're the last to get paid.
Yeah. But kudos to you for doing that. Hopefully, I don't know what the state of the current players are. There are rumors. I hope that they get to better state. I don't know if that's a proper. I hope that they're in a great state. Whatever they land, I hope they're okay.
But next time we could talk about that more. I think more on the creator side naman, like what's the
Like-
but I think we need to be able to fix these payment terms that's why I'm approaching it from an industry perspective, from my position in CICP and creator.
Yeah.
Kasi Tier 1 alone cannot change the game. This is
Of
a
course.
standard, a global practice amongst different brands. And it has been this way ever since. And it needs to change.
Yeah. From being a creator myself, when I was shoutcasting, I can fairly remember that they say that the bigger the brand is, the longer
The payment terms.
the payment terms.
Can you imagine that? Right?
Like, it's so crazy to think. I cannot accept that, but at the same time, there's nothing I can do about it. Like big brands, like I'm not gonna name the brands, but you know, like if you know the brand, that's probably a big brand. So as prestigious it is to have sponsorships with them, dude, they pay so slowly, dude.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
an industry problem. That's why,
Yeah.
like, I gotta approach this from the board seat
Yeah.
of being in the CICP rather
Yeah.
than just tier 1. It requires an industry voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's why, sometimes when you land these big gigs, some people will say,
Congrats!
congrats, palibre ka, wala pa tayo dyan. Dude. Oh, they don't know, you go poor for 3 months. Then by the time that...
And you spend for creating the content,
exactly,
diba? You spend resources in creating the content.
by the time that the money comes to your plate, you will spend it for paying some some loans or some credit, or you already designated, and you eventually you don't enjoy anything anymore. So usually that is what happens.
That's normally how business works here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We gotta change
Fortunate.
it, man.
Oh, I am. I heard the ear pants from Pao. So
Yeah. We're trying to change it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wishing you well. Okay, so I told you that there will be another question, and here's a more. This question is there's no right or wrong answer, but I wanted to know from you, like, Tier 1 as a company obviously started from. Yeah, it's almost a passion project, and there are some projects in the Tier 1 that's also considerably a passion project, aka Blacklist. When it started as an esports team, Blacklist Rivalry is. Blackout is probably another passion project as well. Although you say that there's some pragmatism that's involved. How do you separate? When does a passion project become eventually an investment, a venture? And how do you make sure?
How does that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, sige, let me explain how the study goes, right?
Yeah.
So let's put it from a very recent example, which is why we're in live selling, diba? So currently
Okay.
we have black market, which caters to our live selling service, diba? So we currently cater to brands like Altitude, Logitech, HP, and so on the live selling aspect. So okay, paano ba nangyari yun? So this is where kind of we looked at the trend, diba? So you look at it from a broader industry standpoint. What are the trends? Where are the advertising spending their money? And about a year and a half ago, I presented to Brian Lim, our managing director in Trike.
Not Panda, by the way. Don't be confused, because Coach Panda is also Brian Lim.
Okay. So I presented to them an opportunity to grow into social commerce. So I showed them the trends. Ito yung nangyari. M-commerce is there. X-media is there. So I showed them like the split in terms of ad revenue going this way, where it's going up. So when after that is done, then we test it out. So we approach. What happened was, if we look at the total addressable market, so magkano ba talaga yung umiikot na pera dyan? How much can we generate? Let's test it out. So tinest namin siya. We approached HP. Ang usapan sa live selling is more of a GMV. Can we actually deliver? But the
What's a
reason,
GMV?
gross market value.
Okay.
So the reason why we went into live selling, for example, is we saw that we have an inventory of live streamers in gaming, kasi gaming is inherently live streaming, diba? Like as a format. Now, if we have an inventory of live streamers, would it be hard for? Is it easier for us to migrate them towards canned content like YouTube or Reels? Or is it easier to use live streaming and move them to another platform like Shopee live selling, Lazada, TikTok Shop, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
And we found that it's easier naman for them to para live streaming pa din, let's test out social commerce. And we did. So we validated, we looked at the data, we generated in one day, in one night of streaming, close to 500,000 in GMV for HP. And then we saw that was the first ever stream we had. And then after that, we brokered the partnership with TikTok Shop. So we became a TSP, a TikTok Shop live TikTok Shop partner. We were currently this year just received our partnership with Shopee as a Shopee MCN. Very prestigious. Konti lang yung agencies that were shortlisted for that. So
In the Philippines.
yes, in the Philippines. So yun. So that's how essentially a business is made. It's studied from a theoretical perspective using a total addressable market data, industry data, trends, and so on.
Yeah.
We also look at capability as another way to validate this. So, do we have the pods? Do we actually have the pods to go into live selling? And sige, palitan na yung sa Bellagio office. Let's transform one of the boardroom into an actual live streaming pod. Yun. So, and then we test it out. So, look at the theoretical, use the strategy, and then you test it, and then you evolve into an overall go-to-market strategy. The only time we actually go into things full term is when we actually validated the idea. Once we have a success, once we have a proof point.
When you say that a company like Tier 1, for example, tests, quote-unquote tests, does this explain why there are projects that I've seen were started by organization like you guys or a company like you guys that started for maybe a month or even 6 months and then eventually just disappears because it didn't
Yeah.
go.
So there are many ways reason why that happens, right? Number one, so I'll speak for example with the gaming house.
Okay.
So the gaming house was a very good IP for us. It was a very good commercial success. It generated us significant amount of commercial revenue. It also welcomed brands that don't normally participate in esports and gaming into the fold. Like Samsung
Cool.
at the time never really invested in esports, but they were a partner in the gaming house. So why did we not continue properties like the gaming house? Diba? So if the proof of success is in the test, why would you not continue it? Now, several reasons for that. So one is we needed we just haven't really landed a very good distribution platform with more favorable deal terms for us. So it's a function of, all right, it worked. Can we get now a more fee? Can we get paid for
I see.
can we get paid media rights for the title? Can a carrier actually carry this and so on? So wala pa eh. So wala pang nobody has kind of put their hat in the ring in terms of paying for the IP in order to carry it. So yun. So those are certain things na why those things happen, and that's
I
a
see.
very concrete example of one.
So, and is it also like a smaller scale na parang if we don't 10x this, something like that, then it's not worth it?
Well, it could be. So it could be the function of resource capacity, right? So unlike, let's say, if you were operating a private equity business, you would probably study it, or it's called the model of build and sell, right? You would probably build it first, develop the product. It would take you months to do that.
Yep.
Before you actually go to market.
Yeah.
As opposed to the startup way, it's the other way around, where you
Sell it agad.
and then you build it.
I see.
Ganon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a lot of stuff to ingest. But essentially speaking, when ganito lang naman yan kasimple for all of those who are interested, when you have a passion project that you want to turn into a business, you have to find a way to get the numbers to support whether or not it's good or bad, it's going to be profitable or not. And then eventually there will come a test, because no matter what happens, there should be a test. So you're probably going to have to spend a little bit, right? You still have to, when you're doing that quote-unquote test, you have to
Yeah, so
spend.
like like Blackout, we just got lucky,
Yeah.
we were able to leverage some of our partners to really, uh, invest in it. And
Yeah.
in fact, na tinao siya ng ganong level, na 5K, like, nagulat kami. And
Yeah.
that could have easily gone wrong,
Yeah,
to be
for sure,
honest.
for sure.
Because it also rained during that day. And I was worried as fuck.
Yeah.
man, going there, and I was like, man, they're gonna have my ass for sure.
Oh,
like
man.
our sponsors are gonna have my ass. And then I get there. So,
Yeah.
me personally, it was hard for me to get in because of the long line, but it's okay. Yun. So it could have easily gone wrong. There's a part of it where you get lucky. There's a part of it where a lot of planning is involved.
Yeah.
So with and it's a marriage of both, right?
Yep.
So with Blackout, there's a lot of planning that really goes into it. But there's also the luck component. Like, had it rained all throughout the day, we would have probably been, Fire Festival. Diba? But,
Yeah.
but thankfully, the rain stopped, and when actually, in spite of the rain, people came. So, it could have gone easily sideways. But my advice for those that want to enter this type of business structure where it's a startup, you're testing very quickly, you're trying to innovate as you go. The term for startups essentially is you're building the plane as you're flying it. That's essentially the
That's so
anecdote
cool. That's so cool.
that people say, right?
Yeah.
In startups. You minimize the risk.
All
That's
right.
what I'll say. So how do you minimize risk, right? One is you ensure that your microeconomics is 100% sure, down to the down to the screws, right? You don't just price the bells and whistles. You price even down to the micro. So
Okay.
halimbawa na lang, if we're gonna spend on a logistics partner, the calculation has to be from point A to point B. How much gas you put in that car
dude.
is only what we will pay for.
Crazy.
Ganon. So that's how you minimize your
Your
risk,
risk, I
if you're
see.
building the plane as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, okay. So, yeah, that's it for the podcast. Maybe, pwede mo bang i-share sa amin? Can you share to us what was the general message of Tier 1 to the Blacklist members and eventually to the fans? Now that, this thing happened, I know that nobody wants this to happen, but it's just how the business is. So, any closing messages?
Yeah, I first want to thank each Blacklist agent out there who celebrated and cried with us. We're still here with you. We're not leaving. We just have other teams now that we hope you support. To the players, I spent a lot of time with you guys. Like sila Oheb. Man, like I remember it's
Very emotional.
wow. Now I think about that time na we were drinking in kasama namin si Iko. Meron kami this taco place, and we talked about everything, like
Yeah.
I'm proud of them. Like seeing Haji from the way he was, even in that night na hindi pa siya masyado nagsasalita. So he wasn't comfortable in his own skin. With the whole fandom, he wasn't comfortable with it. Up until the maturation of him, doing that beanie partnership. If you saw that TVC.
Yeah.
But he was a part of it, and him like dancing with them. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
dude! Like this is a totally different person. I'm so happy to have been part of your lives, and to have seen that growth with you guys. And I wish nothing but the best for you. We will always be here in Tier 1. You guys have my number. Call me anything you need. I'll answer. I'll help you guys out. And to the fans out there, I hope you still continue to support Blacklist International, especially the women's team, who's gonna be competing in MPL Athena, and all the other titles that we've entered.
All right. Thank you so much for staying up until this point in the podcast. I hope you learned something. I hope that eventually you're gonna appreciate more what Tier 1 has done for the team, for Blacklist International, and for the league itself, for the community. And yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Brian,
Wolf.
and
Thank
the
you so
entirety
much, man. Yeah.
of Tier 1. Give my love to Tier 1. I wish you all the best.
Appreciate it.
Your hell days are not over, I'm sure. So you're gonna still have to deal with a lot of stuff. But I hope that this podcast helped even in a little way, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much. That's it. Goodbye.
Thank you.